Hey guys, welcome to Executive Espresso, and we have with us today I have my cup of espresso right here, over a cup of espresso or coffee, or maybe even tea if that's what you like to drink. Alex Mathers, who is at Alex Mathers 84 on the X platform, a great platform. I was just reading a really great thread that he posted that I hope we have a chance to talk about how to, it's quadruple your productivity. Alex is a coach. He is a writer to 160,000 readers, a brand growth and monetization expert, successful newsletter editor, and he is the webmaster of masterden.com, which we encourage you guys to check out. So, Alex, hey, welcome. And what did I leave out?
I don't think you left anything major out. I think you really nailed it. The only thing I'm not drinking is either tea or coffee at this moment because I'm trying to cut down on the caffeine for the later half of the afternoon because I'm
Oh,
late. I'm later in the day
that's
for this.
right.
So,
That's right. You're over in the great country of Poland, near what city was it?
Krakow in southern Poland.
Southern Poland, and
Yeah.
you're having some pretty good weather there. Well,
Yeah.
let's jump right into it. How did you get into doing what you're doing currently on the X platform?
Yeah, it's a long story. So I think I wrote my first tweet on X a good um, 15 years ago now, something like that. Maybe not quite as crazy as that. 2008, I think, was my first tweet. So that was not on the current account. I've opened up several accounts, as you can probably tell, and tried different things, experimented, and closed various accounts over time. So I've been doing it and tweeting for quite a long time. And the reason I started back in 2008 would have been because I was looking to bring some attention to my personal brand at the time, which was mainly a case of promoting my Red Lemon Club blog, which was a blog aimed at helping other creatives promote and build their own businesses. So I've been doing that kind of stuff for a good while now in different kind of iterations and different forms.
Gosh,
But yeah, I've
did you
been
say
tweeting for a while.
Red Lemon Club? Now,
Exactly.
where
Yeah,
did you
I
come up
wanted to
with
kind of
Red
create
Lemon Club?
a poppy idea, sort of an idea that's memorable.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And what were some of the difficulties that you encountered early on? What are some things that kind of got in the way?
Well, I think the main one looking back would have been getting enough people to put eyeballs on the stuff that I was creating because it's difficult to stay motivated, I've found, and I'm sure everyone else can relate, when you spend time and energy on a particular post or a video, whatever it is, and you don't get as much attention as you'd like, because obviously that's gonna obviously validate the work and it makes a lot of it more worthwhile. So that's a big challenge for all of us involved in this highly competitive game, right? Like the internet has opened up incredible opportunities, but at the same time, because everyone's doing it now, everyone's sort of moving in on the internet and creating brands. It's the attention element that's the challenge, isn't it? So for me, it was always a case of bringing as much awareness to what I was doing as possible to see what I could do to tweak the work and to tweak the approach to make sure that people were actually reading it and the numbers were going up.
And so, how did you stay engaged? How did you get over the hurdle of, gosh, I'm putting all this work in, and there's not a lot of eyeballs on the work that I do? How do you keep focused on believing that you're actually bringing some value?
I think the thing that really helped me the most, and this took me a while to figure out through lots of struggle and frustration, initially in writing posts that no one was reading, was seeing it from the point of view of self growth. So the stuff that I was creating, all the writing I was doing, yes, it could be frustrating that no one was reading it, and they didn't for like a couple of years. I was sharing posts to no one for a while. But the reason I stuck with it, the reason I stayed in the game, was because I could see that regardless of who was reading it, I was still seeing my improvement as a writer. I was still seeing improvement in the craft. And I knew that as long as I stuck with it, because I was seeing other people succeeding too, as long as I stuck with it, then people would start sensing the value of what had already been building in the darkness, right? And we'll start connecting with it, which is what happened over time, and it took some patience.
I love that. You said the building in the darkness. You know, the value I find with that is I think that that gives us a great space of opportunity to really fine tune our craft And
Yeah.
so it's not without value because, well, my son's girlfriend shared with me about people that she follows. And she said one of the most interesting things, and she's a marketing person, that she does that for a living, works for a place and a content creator. But she said one of the most interesting things for me is seeing the progression of people as they hone and fine tune their craft. And you can go back and look at where they started, and it's really not that good. But then you see where they are now, and they really improve things. So
Mm,
um, I think
absolutely.
that, and I like seeing that too. I mean, I think that's why we like seeing before and after pictures. You know, you see this guy with his gut sticking out, and then you see him with a six pack of abs or something. It doesn't hit quite so hard if you just see some guy on the cover of Fitness Magazine, because you're thinking, where did he come from? Well, what are some
True.
shortcuts that you discovered along the way? What are some maybe top tips that help you get from point A to where you are now?
So when it comes to brand growth, I don't think there was ever really a specific shortcut. I think the shortcut was realizing that there wasn't really one and not getting too hung up on needing to find one. I guess I'm being a little bit kind of speaking in platitudes, right? There are things you can do to speed up the process for sure. You know, there are also things like, you know, taking on mentors and talking to other people who've seen success. I would say that that's the one that jumps to mind the most. Is if you want to find a shortcut in, you know, this game of developing your craft as a creator and getting seen more and making more money, talk to as many people as you can. Or maybe it's just the one. Maybe you even want to invest money in a coach or something like that, someone who's been through and achieved the things that you want to achieve. And that's going to be that's going to be a direct avenue into understanding the steps that get you to where you want to go without having to spend potentially months and years meandering around, which is what I did a lot of the time, until I found myself a coach or two and people that I was speaking to online. I made sure that I spoke to a lot of the guys who I could see as higher up than me. Um, and so I got a lot of insight from other people. Thinking of in terms of other shortcuts, I would say,
Well, let me ask you a question about
yeah,
the coaches. What was the biggest value that they had already made some of the mistakes, and they helped you avoid some of those mistakes?
I would say that would be a big one. Yeah, because when you speak to people who've gone through at least a fair chunk of the process that you're on the same journey on, then they're going to be able to relay back to you what some of the struggles they had were, and they will hopefully, if they're a good mentor or a good coach, they'll be able to say, well, look, you don't necessarily need to go through all of this struggle. You can do such and such, and you can take this strategy, and you can do this, and yeah, you can save a lot of time that way. That would be a shortcut, absolutely. If you
Yeah,
can get the direct route rather than the meandering long route from someone directly, that would be a great shortcut. Yeah,
I guess instead of recreating the wheel, find somebody that's already created the wheel, and
exactly.
do it their way. And what else might you say that you learned early on that you still use today? A technique or something that you it's just kind of basic. I think that the basics aren't all that sexy, and people do want shortcuts.
Yeah.
I tend to think that the shortcut is hard work and repetition, but that's the shortcut. But no one wants to hear that. You know, we want
Yeah.
something flashy and sexy. But what's something basic that you still use today after being on the platform for so long?
I would say one that I have probably used more recently, but it's probably been, I mean, it's been a thread throughout. Some of the time I haven't even realized that I've been doing it, but I think a big one in that would be taking a look at what I call proven material. So um, this is taking a look at your own now accumulated body of work in whatever type of content it is, but also looking at other people's tweets, videos, whatever you're focused on growing, and just taking a look at taking stock of what's working, right? Taking stock. So first of all, on your own side, looking at your own material and looking at where the engagement tends to be, and breaking it down, trying to find the commonalities that link the posts that tend to take off versus the ones that don't do as much, don't do as well. And seeing if you can emulate that already previously validated content, because that's the beauty of putting stuff out and seeing how it does, is that you can see what tends to do better and what doesn't do so well. So the stuff that does well, you could see as validated material, proven material that you can then reincorporate into your next things. The same applies to looking at other people's work. If you're looking to grow on Twitter, for example, you want to make a point of taking an interest in other people's tweets, especially the popular ones, and asking yourself, what is it about this tweet that did so well? What is it? Is it an emotional thing? Is it like the hook? Whatever it is. And of course, these platforms are continually evolving over time. So it's very difficult to provide a blueprint for what works at any given time. So you've got to be adaptable to the changes that we're seeing on these platforms. But at the same time, but the best way to do that is to take a close look at what works and then double down, do more of the stuff that does work.
Do you think it's a problem? How would I put this? People trying to be like everybody else. I mean, do you think there's a lack of originality on the platform?
That's a great question off the back of that. Yeah, for sure. Um, this is why, yeah, you want to be aware of that too. You want to absolutely make use of that strategy. I'd also suggest people experiment as well in addition to it. I've talked about this in terms of the 80-20. You could change the numbers around a little bit, but you always want to have a certain chunk of what you're doing that's highly experimental too. So you've got, especially if you're in a phase of wanting to grow quickly, you want to focus on resharing proven approaches. That doesn't necessarily mean that the content is emulated. It doesn't mean that you're flat out copying. You want to be conscious of, I suppose, the strategy that underlies the success of the content, but then to make it your own, to bring it over to your own work and apply your own unique flavor to it. So I think you can still create an original brand and you can still differentiate yourself very effectively by borrowing approaches and strategies and techniques that do well. So um, at the very least, you want to be getting a good sense for how people are grabbing people's attention online. What are some interesting ideas? What are some unique approaches? And bringing that over to your own stuff.
I do think that that's a key thing. Is I think that there's not a problem emulating somebody else's because it's kind of like one band doing a cover, their own take on a famous song
Yeah.
of a famous band. But there's got to be something unique, as you say, flavor that you bring to it. And I don't know the name of a band, but I've heard a couple of bands that I think that their take on it was much better than the original artist.
Yeah.
And to
I've heard a
do
few of
that, I
those.
think you have to believe in your ability to do that. I think that you have to have confidence in the value that you can bring. And this is one reason why, and I think there's some debate about this, but on the X platform where you can do a repost quote, that's one of my favorite things. And I actually don't know how effective it is because I don't track numbers the way
Mm.
that many people do. I just kind of put up what I put up. But I love seeing someone else's thought, a meme or whatever, and then my take on it will be in a completely different field. Like I do relationships, and I'll give a take how this applies to a relationship that really had nothing to do with the original post.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. So you're bringing in somebody else's take and then having your take next to it. So you've got the comparison as well, which is a nice creative approach too. That's the
I
thing.
think
There's
so.
no
I
there's
don't. I
no,
don't know how well
there's
it
no end.
works. I guess we'll see. I'm kind of very young, which is the only place I'll ever say that on the X platform. But I think I've only been on it intently since I don't know, maybe 6 months now.
Okay.
And so on that, do you think that it's too late for people to get on the platform, or do you think with Musk taking over, it's really early days?
I get the sense that even though Twitter's been around for a while, I still, with all the developments and the renewed enthusiasm that I'm seeing kind of erupting out of Twitter or X over the last few months, I'm seeing that there's a lot. a lot more to come in terms of new opportunities and new, I suppose, options and tools and things that are going to be brought into the platform. And people seem to be very positive about things in the future, and the fact that it might potentially become this kind of everything app, which is something you don't want to sleep on. If you want to make use of the internet in the coming years, you want to certainly be on an app that claims that's where it's going to be going in the next few years. So I get the sense that we're kind of going through a bit of a rebirth right now. Things seem to be we're going through a lot of rapid change, and I'm feeling positive about the opportunities presented through this. I mean, you can see how much you can do with just the one app, like how much people are able to do right now. They've got spaces gathered around them and communities that are being built, and people are building incredibly successful businesses just through what's going on their little app on their phone, and that's all they're making use of.
It's incredible. That's incredible. For running out of time, what do you think is today's top brand struggle? What do you think people struggle with the most?
I think the thing that came to mind at the top of this was dealing with stuff that's kind of initially out of your control on the internet, like algorithm changes.
I agree. Your current best mindset hack, something that just kind of keeps you going day by day.
The one that works for me is knowing that anything you put your mind to, whatever task you have to do, whether it be writing an article or even just washing the dishes, there is a way to make it enjoyable. We have the creative power as humans to make whatever task that's at hand enjoyable, just through the power of creativity.
Your top newsletter success tip, if you could give people one tip.
One that's worked well for me is taking a thread that's done really well on the internet, and that's proven material. So I'm seeing lots of likes on it. People that have already shown themselves to love it, and using that as a lead magnet to get people onto the newsletter.
Okay. Fantastic. And a quick question before we go into the positive affirmation for the weekend, just something you can leave the audience with to kind of pump them up and keep them going. You put up this great thread on, I think it's 14 dirty little secrets, and who doesn't love a dirty little secret, to quadruple your, is it productivity?
Yes.
Yeah. How'd you come up with that?
I think I had taken in a lot of coffee that morning, and I was feeling a little bit frivolous and a little bit playful, and I decided, you know what, everyone's writing the same headers. I want to create something different. I want to create a nuclear explosion in the Twitter sphere. So I decided to write something a little bit far out, and it worked out well. People obviously enjoyed that slightly.
I did. I love it, and you should check it out. Alex has it pinned at the top of his page, and actually I just saw that maybe 30 minutes ago, so I'll go back and reread it more carefully. But it's good stuff. A positive affirmation, something to kind of pump people up, leave them for the weekend.
Wow, this is one I hadn't prepared, but the thing that comes to mind is a very short one, which is choose happiness. This is what I'm probably going to put. I'm going to put that on a T-shirt and try and circulate.
That's cool. It is a choice. It is a choice.
It is a choice, exactly.
And people can get in touch with you how?
The best way to keep in touch would be to follow me on Twitter, Alex Mathers84. And if you're interested in learning more in depth through my newsletter about brand growth and monetizing your personal brand, masteryden.com would be the best place for that.
Masteryden.com. And this video is going to live on YouTube at Therapy Bites. You can always access it there. And you can also get it on, anywhere that you get this feed, on other platforms, but X as well. One final question that just came up. When are you going to stop calling it Twitter?
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's obviously been in psyche for over a decade, so it's going to take a while to unravel that. Maybe a few weeks. We'll see.
Yeah, a few weeks. Yeah. I think it'll be some time to come. Hey, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining Executive Espresso. Go check out Alex's stuff. It's great stuff. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.